Hey everybody, this is the Stuff I Heard podcast, and I'm your host Josh Peak. Let's put this on my head, and we'll get it started, shall we? Hey everybody, today happens to be Saturday, October 5th. How about that? 10/5, 2019. My little microphone stand is making a noise. Sorry about that. So anyway, today is Saturday. Hey everybody, how's it going? Oh, dear baby Jesus, sweet baby Jesus, laying there in the manger, not a care in the world, your golden fleece diapers. So check it out. Today, well, let me back up a little, just a smidge, shall I? I have gotten on to building a lot of furniture out of cedar, which I know you guys kind of know about. I also have been sort of running out of wood. I've been making a lot of things. You guys have seen me, if you're watching on YouTube, make tables and chairs and couches and love seats and end tables and coffee tables and all kinds of tables and such. And my wood pile is dwindling down to nothing. And I seriously thought about just wrapping it all up and going, okay, well, I'm done with that hobby. That was fun. And moving on to something else. I even spotted a Model A behind a restaurant this past week, Model A Ford, that was, it looked pretty good. It looked like it needed a motor and transmission, but the frame looked good, the body looked decent. For a almost 100-year-old vehicle, it looked great. Of course, looking at it, my first thought is, I have no idea what I'm doing, don't know what I'm going to get myself into. But the curiosity was there, ooh, isn't that neat, was there. And you sort of need that. You need that drive, that motivation, that feeling of, I wonder what I could do with this. You know what I mean? You sort of need that in order to even get started with a project. And I felt that looking at it. But I also felt a huge feeling of, yeah, this could cost a lot of money, and once I start unraveling this thing, it could be like that. Sort of like having a knit sweater that you find a string and you pull that and you pull that, and before you know it, you've pulled the whole thing loose and you've got a big gaping hole and you don't know how to fix the hole because it's there, and that could be kind of what this turned into. So, I sent pictures to Dad. I was like, hey, cool, check this out, and I put them on Instagram. And if you go on my Instagram, JTATPEK, JTATPEK, it's on there and you'll see it and you're like, okay, it's kind of cool. It's a sedan, I guess, a coupe, whatever, 2-door. It had a covered area in the back. I've seen people turn these into hot rods and rat rods, and they turn out really great. And of course, I can't help but look at it and think, yeah, that'd be honking to deal with, and man, if I could create something, that'd be really cool. But it's also outside my wheelhouse, and it's outside something that I feel comfortable with. It'd be different if, Dad was nearby and I'm like, hey, let's tinker with this, because I know this is right up his alley. I mean, he could throw a motor in it and get it running in just a short period of time. Then we'd have all kinds of fun with hot rods and such, but I was like, let me not get this. Let me not dive into the hot rod world right now. Let me instead think about this wood thing for real. So I went on Facebook, and they got, the little sale page on there, and I've started looking up to see if anybody's selling, cedar slabs. You never know when you come across one that's people, have a sawmill and they're cutting wood, and they're like, yeah, I'm selling this wood. You guys want some wood? Come on out, check it out. So I looked online, and I want to say midweek this week, this lady, Tanya, had posted some up in Maxton, North Carolina, which is about an hour drive from where I live. And she had advertised it at like $6 a foot. Now that's a linear foot. That's, doesn't matter how wide it is, just, about $6 a foot. Yeah, I'll be honest, $6 a foot, is like an estimate of what they would charge normally. And I was like, oh, I just can't afford that. That's ridiculous, because if I get a piece, then I can only get 1 or 2 pieces, and I just, I can't justify the cost. I'm better off just to wait and keep looking, and maybe I'll come across some wood down the road. And, there's no sense in getting in a hurry about this, and, it just ain't meant to happen. So then I sort of let go of it in my brain. I was just like, yeah, you never know. Just, I'm not in a hurry to do anything. I'm not, I'm okay with just kind of relaxing for a little bit and, catching up on college football and watching stuff on Netflix and that kind of stuff, and just, just taking it easy. Well, my wife made a comment when she became a podcaster last weekend. She sat in here with her girlfriends doing the podcast, and she made a comment that the table wasn't big enough for her. She said, if you're going to have guests in here, this ain't big enough to do what you want to do. And I think that was a way of her saying, this ain't big enough to do what I want to do. I mean, she didn't come out and say that, but I kind of got the feeling that that's what she meant. I could see this becoming something. I mean, so far you've been doing this for over a year, so you're not quitting. So let's seriously talk about maybe making a bigger table so you can have guests in here and they can all sit comfortably. And of course, you guys know that I look at Joe Rogan, and every now and then somebody will shoot a film of his podcast studio, and he's got a massive table. I mean, this thing's got to be, I don't know, 12, 14 feet long, and maybe 5 feet wide, 6 feet wide. It's incredible. It's just awesome. And, watching it, of course, you realize, oh yeah, this is one of the top people in the world doing it. Of course he's going to, spend some decent money on a decent table. And, you get what you get out of it. You don't need a fancy table. You don't need a fancy microphone. Listen, I looked at microphones. I looked up the guy that does Bert's podcast, Halston Ray. And Halston sent me a message. I mean, he was very approachable. I sent him a picture of my setup, and I said, hey, this is what I'm doing, and I'd really like to get a different mic stand and maybe some new mics. Do you have any suggestions? And he wrote me back right away, and he said, yeah, these are the mics we use, and the spring in them is pretty heavy, so you might want to get a heavy microphone. Here's the microphones we use. Okay, so the mic stands that they use are they're close to $100 per. But they're good quality mic stands. They're the same mic stands that Joe uses. They're the same mic stands that a lot of the top guys use. And the microphones also are the similar microphones that everybody uses. It's a pricey microphone. I'm not gonna lie, it's about $400 a microphone. Now, I did all this for very cheap. What I'm using right now, my soundboard was about $60, maybe $50, somewhere in that range. My mic stands were $12 each. My microphones were about $28 each. So, what is that? 40, 80, and then, so I got less than $200 in all this setup. And you're talking about a microphone that's $400 a piece. That's a bit out of my range. That's more than I want to spend. But I could justify some more microphone stands. I mean, if I'm going to do this with 4 people, I could get different microphone stands. I could maybe try one of these microphone stands out that's a little pricier. I mean, why not? Why not? Give it a shot. Try one out. See what it's like. If I don't like it, I can send it back, and I can buy some more of these El Cheapos because they seem to work just fine. The only thing I don't like about them is the little holders break, and the microphone hangs down, kind of like with my guest one. But for what it is, it works fine. It works fine. There's nothing really terrible about it. It's all workable. We can figure it out. For that matter, I could duct tape the thing. I thought about making one out of cedar, just to be that guy that goes overboard with all of his daggum wood. But I thought, no, that's a bit much. Come on now, let's actually get something decent here. No, not just because also I don't know what I'm doing. So I'd make something and it looked like garbage, and people would be like, "Oh my God, I can't believe you made that out of that. It's so stupid." Like you guys need one more thing to fuss about. But anyway, let's talk about the wood. Okay, so I don't even know if I did this part, but on Facebook, I found somebody in Maxton, North Carolina that was selling wood, and Friday night she posted, "Hey, my father has medical expenses. He's getting out of the business. We're going to be selling this wood for $350 a foot." And I was like, okay, well that's almost half price. That's way more doable. So I sent her a message and I said, you know, if you don't mind, I'll be out there in the morning. You know, I'm interested in looking at it. And so anyway, I made a trip this morning. I got up, set my alarm. I got up, went up there. Very nice lady. Tanya, you know, walked me through the building. I got to meet her dad, talked to him a little bit, showed him pictures of what I was building. I saw pictures of what he was building. I posted a video on YouTube today. If you look up Joshua Peak, you'll see it, about, you know, going in and seeing the wood and seeing some of the stuff that he built. This guy apparently used to build beds and swings and all kinds of stuff and does great work. But since his heart situation, you know, he's had heart surgery and he's just not going to be able to do it anymore physically. And so his daughter was like, you know, we got to get rid of this stuff. All this has got to go. And she had wood piled up against the walls, and there was like 2 buildings worth of wood just everywhere. And I said, you know, I don't really know what I'm doing here. I just, I'm interested. And should I just make a pile of stuff I'm interested in, and then you can tell me a price of what it's worth, and we'll go from there? And she was like, sure. So we talked for a while and looked at pictures, and then we, you know, stacked wood, and she gave me a price, and it was decent. And I was like, okay, well, you know, I'm thinking to myself, I brought more, and I'm really interested in some more of these pieces. So I said, okay, so that's where we're at now. Let's add some more to it. And I added some more to it. And I said, what are we up to now? And she gave me another price. I said, okay, let's add some more to it. And I just kept adding more to it. And at a certain point, I was like, okay, that's probably more than will fit in my truck. Let's go ahead and just load it up, you know, and we'll see what we can fit after that. So we loaded it up, and as we're fitting stuff on the truck, she starts throwing in this piece and that piece extra, and, you know, here, take this one also, and this one, and take this one. And I was like, okay. So I was real thankful, you know, and loaded up, and when I got done, she had this big slab of walnut. I mean, it's probably 5 foot tall and probably maybe 2.5 feet wide. It's a big piece. It may very well be the next podcast table. I don't know what I'm going to do with this one. I may keep this one in here for the computer stuff. I may turn it and then put the walnut table straight out for guests. So you may see something different if you guys are watching the YouTube video. You may see something different down the road. But I was really impressed with the quality of everything they cut. I was really pleased that they were very nice to talk to and deal with. And, you know, of course, you know, it's hard not to think about this guy going through this thing with his heart and think, you know, geez, this poor fella's, you know, devoted his whole life to this kind of stuff, and now he can't do it anymore. And it's got to be a little bit heartbreaking for him. But, you know, I was happy to get the wood, and I was happy to help them out with some money, and I ended up buying the walnut piece from them. She gave me a price I couldn't pass up. I told her, I said, if I leave here and don't get that, I'm going to think for days, why didn't I just ask how much that was worth? You know, how much she'd sell it to me for. I said, you know, I got to ask. And she was like, you know, here's the price. And I was like, okay, I'll take that too, sure. So I paid her, got on the road, got home. I spent about 2.5, 3 hours down there, somewhere in that range. And then it's an hour drive there and an hour drive back. So, I mean, I left the house around 7 this morning, and I didn't get home about lunchtime. But my wife helped me out. She went to the grocery store while I cleaned up the garage and made room. And I put wood in the garage. I put wood outside the garage. I put wood everywhere. I cleaned up. I actually took a broom and swept out everything, and, you know, made it really a lot better. I had some stuff kind of in disarray from use, and it did me good to go ahead and get all that stuff cleaned up. It really made me feel good to have everything organized more than what it was. So anyway, so that's done. Yay. Let's talk about stuff I heard, okay? I listened to today, as a matter of fact, I listened to Joe Rogan Experience interview Sturgil Simpson. Now, Sturgil Simpson, if you guys don't know, he won Country Music Artist of the Year a couple years ago, and he was unsigned. He had no record label. He didn't want a record label. A lot of people talk about how this guy's writing real country music. He's a real country. Him and Chris Stapleton. Everybody talks about the two of them being real country music. nowadays a lot of your country music you listen to is very rock oriented, very poppy. It's got a lot of pop influence and a lot of, here lately rap is becoming part of country music. And of course the true country fans are a bit pissed off about it because it's not supposed to have a hook and a catch. It's supposed to tell a story. That's what country music was about when I was a kid. It told a story. Usually it had roots in blues and bluegrass and gospel, but it told a story of heartache and hardship and hard work and hard men and hard women and the things that they had to do to get through. And how sometimes it didn't turn out great, but it's the story that made it country. And when Sturgill came out with his first album, I listened to some stuff, and it just wasn't in my wheelhouse of music. I mean, I'm more rock than anything. I like a bit of raspy voice and hard lyrics and catchy little hooks with some really crazy guitar stuff. I mean, let's face it, I'm a kid of my age. I got into 70s rock, and then the 80s sucked for, pop music was the thing, and everybody was using synthesizers, and I hated every bit of it. And then the 90s hit, and grunge music kicked off, and I was like, yes, finally, some music I can get into. Because it was my generation. It was everything I was feeling, and back then, music really, defined you. It was part of who you were. I couldn't wait to turn up the tunes when I got in the car. It was fun. And now, music's out, and I don't even care. I don't care about new music. Unless it's a singer-songwriter, somebody writing their own lyrics, like Susan Santos with the Honey Honey Band. Ed Sheeran, does a good job. And again, I like him better by himself than when he's got a band behind him. Same with Edmund McCain. I prefer him by himself than with a band. But anyway, back to the podcast. So Sturgill talks about how he was in his 30s working for the railroad, making good money, but he just felt like, if I keep doing this, I'm going to die doing this. And it has nothing to do with my ability or anything. It's just, I'm going to come out here one day and go to work, and something bad's going to happen, and there's nothing I can do to escape it, and I don't want to live this way. So he got into music. He was married at the time, and he talks about how rough it was, being broke and, living, gig to gig, trying to make ends meet and not being able to for a long time. And now he's a big success. Now he's got a record contract, and he's got people that work for him, and he's talking about the fact that he made some kind of movie based on his latest music that they put out. But he keeps talking about how it's not traditional country. It's something different. And let me click the link on my phone, and maybe I can see more information on it. Details. Here we go. Sturgil Simpson is a Grammy award-winning country music and roots rock singer-songwriter. His new album, Sound and Fury, is now available streaming services everywhere. And the anime visual album, Sturgil Simpson Presents Sound and Fury, is now streaming on Netflix. He is joined by his band members, Miles Miller, Chuck Bartles, Bobby Emmett, and by Green Beret medic Justin Lassick. And then there's if you click on the thing, there's little things that you can hit your thumb on and go to the links for. There is a fundraiser that they're doing for this Green Beret medic veteran. This Justin Lassick gets on the podcast and talks about how he was on a mission in Afghanistan and got his legs blown off below the knee. He lost his testicles. He suffered a lot, and how in his recovery he got to meet Sturgil Simpson and how they became friends. And so they're in there together, and they're talking about raising money for veterans, and veterans whose families don't get to have their families anymore, who they don't come home. This guy talked about how lucky he felt that he lived, and he said, yeah, I'm in a bad way, but I came home where a lot of my friends didn't. And I mean, it's heartwarming to hear. And I want to check out his Sound and Fury on Netflix. I heard he was talking about how the anime crew worked on it, and he took several trips to Japan to work with animators to talk about, you know, what he wanted and how he wanted it to look and how they really came through. And, you know, so anyway, that's something I'm going to look for, something you guys can check out if you're interested. It's really fantastic. So anyway, I heard that, and then I listened to a great podcast with Bert Kreischer. Okay, his podcast is called The Bertcast. It came out Tuesday, episode 363 with Jim Brewer. Jim Brewer is a stand-up comedian. They talk about superstition. Jim opened for Metallica. He had a radio show. He talks about touring. And what's not listed in the information here on the little thing on my phone is the fact that Jim talks about his wife battling cancer and how she fought it twice and beat it, and now she has it a third time. And the third time they went, the doctor told them there's nothing they can do, that it's stage 4 and it's metastasized everywhere in her body, and there's nothing they can do. At the time that she got it, they told her that she was only going to make it for a few months. And that was a year and a half ago. And they apparently had talked about it to somebody that was a friend of theirs who was a pharmacy rep. And the pharmacy rep says, hey, you know, there's these trial situations where we're trying out drugs that, you know, may work. And let me get you in touch with these people in Houston. Because apparently Houston is like the cancer capital of the world, or the United States at least. And so they went to Houston, they talked to some specialists, and they said, okay, you need to go to Philadelphia to talk to these guys, because they really specialize in what she has. So they went to Philadelphia, they talked to people, and they put her on a trial program with this new medicine. And it's working. The cancer cells are dying, they're going away. And here was a person who had no hope and her future was bleak at best. And now she's got a chance. And he talks about how their conversations are different about how they do everything, you know, vacations and such. They talked about going to Africa on a trip, and he was like, they were looking at money, and he's like, that's going to be really expensive. And she goes, are you kidding me? This is it. Like, this is it. And he goes, you're right, this is it. Screw it. Let's just go. I don't care what it costs. Let's do the trip we wanted to do. Let's go see, you know, monkeys in Africa and lions and stuff like that. Let's do the big tour. Let's have fun. This is what life is supposed to be about, is spending time together. Let's do it. And they went and did it, and it was very touching to hear. And listen, Jim gets really sentimental towards the end when he talks about the fact that he lost his sister, he lost his brother, and then his dad died. And he has a very interesting perspective story about his father passing away and how it affected him and how he sort of took a new look at life and learned to move forward. And he talks about the power of prayer and about letting go. And listen, it had me almost in tears listening to it. I've seen Jim do comedy. He's very physical with his comedy. He does, impersonations of crazy things, and he's high energy. He's, very boisterous. And him telling this story, it's like having a conversation with someone who's very close to you, telling you, listen, I figured out the secret of life, and here it is. So, take it for what it's worth. Check it out. You're not going to be disappointed. When you start the podcast, just fast forward the commercials. Bert has some reads in the beginning, and then somewhere in the middle he has a mid-roll read where he reads advertisements. Just skip that part. Listen to Jim. Listen to him talk about opening for Metallica. Listen to him talk about what an interesting experience that was, and how Metallica was like, top notch with them about, hey, is there anything you need? This is what we can do. I can help you out. Really good experience. But then his stuff with his wife, his stuff with his dad, is very, very tender, very heartwarming, very honest. And that's why I listen to a lot of these podcasts. Is I want to hear people be honest about their life. I want to hear them tell you, hey, I figured out some stuff about life. This is what I figured out. And that's the idea of this podcast. It's stuff I heard. I'm going to tell you the parts that I like, and I'm going to try and share with you the cool things, and maybe it'll influence you to something else. Every once in a while I'll be on here and just talk about crap that's going on, but I want to have a conversation. That's part of it. So anyway, for what it's worth, check it out. Let's talk for a second about Danny McWilliams. Danny is going to start. He has started a YouTube page. It's called Stuff I Kind of Care About, and on it he's going to be doing some arts and crafts kind of stuff. He's into leatherworking. He's talked about wanting to get into blacksmithing. He apparently makes a lot of things. I don't want to like upsell him where he can't talk about it. I'm going to have him on the podcast. He came over last Sunday, and we talked for an hour, probably 3 hours, I guess. I'm going to have him on here. I'm going to get him to talk about it, but I want him to create some content and have it on there so when you guys click on it, you can see it right away. He's got 2 videos up right now on YouTube, so he's just getting started. He's got an Instagram page, same name, Stuff I Kind of Care About. He's going to be posting on both of those things. I kind of showed him the nuts and bolts of what I do, and I'm going to work with him as a collaborator. And so hopefully he can learn from you guys, and he can share what he learns with you guys, and we can create a community. That's kind of what this is all about, right? Now let's talk about some stuff I've seen. Okay, I know this is stuff I heard, but this is stuff I've seen. Peaky Blinders, Season 5, is now on Netflix. It just came out. There's only 6 episodes in this season, but I'm already 3 episodes in. Holy cow, it is powerful. The main guy, Cillian Murphy, you guys probably know him from the Batman movie. I think he played Scarecrow in one of those Batman movies. He also was in Inception. He was the rich guy that they supposedly went into his dreams to change stuff. And I thought in both movies he looked weird. There's something strange about him being all pale-faced, and I don't know, he just looked weird in both of those movies. And I thought, I'm not crazy about this guy. This guy was made to play Thomas Shelby in Peaky Blinders. This guy is everything you want from a leading man in this show. He is vulnerable. He is strong. He is intimidating. He is powerful. He is everything that you want as a leading man in this show. When he exerts himself, he does it 100%. Reminds me a lot of Travis Fimmel on Vikings. This guy can portray rage in a way that comes from something inside. It doesn't just come from acting class. This guy's known some real heartache in his life, and he can pull it off on stage, man. He is powerful as Thomas Shelby. And the guy playing his brother, Paul Anderson, I wrote his name down just so I wouldn't forget it. This guy has a way of speaking that commands attention. Like, he controls the screen when he's on the screen. He is a powerful force. If you haven't watched Peaky Blinders, they're all on Netflix. It's all about the Irish mob. It's very interesting. These guys run books. They eventually get into politics, and they do what they got to do. And listen, this season is about the stock market crash in New York City and how it affected the world, and how people had to figure out a different way to make money. And they do it. And man, it is powerful. Golly, it's powerful. If you guys are into comedy, Nikki Glazer has her new special on Netflix. I think it's called Bangin'. I've heard Nikki on a lot of podcasts, and I really like her on podcasts. And I watched her comedy last night, and I got to tell you, I was really anticipating to laugh my butt off, and it was okay. It's the kind of humor, though, that would have been great in my 20s, which I think she is in her 20s. I haven't actually Googled her, but she's a young gal, and this is young girl comedy, and so anyway, it's worth checking out. There were a few things in there I really liked. I thought it was hilarious. It's not one for my mom. Please don't watch it, Mom. So anyway, that's it. I'm going to wrap this up. I got ribs on the grill. There's going to be pictures on Instagram, so check that out. Again, remember, rate, review, subscribe, share with your friends, and thank you, everybody, for helping me out with the podcast and for everything. Love you guys. If you don't hear from anywhere else, cue the cow. Bye, y'all.